Publix apologizes after employee refused to write trans on a cake.
It just kind of was this reality check that shook me.
When Yasmin Flasterstein and her friend placed the order for their Publix cake, they asked for the phrase,
"Trans people deserve joy."
Instead, she says this is what they got back.
People deserve joy.
She shared these photos with us and her story about what happened at this Publix in Colonialtown on April 26. Flasterstein planned to purchase the cake for an event that evening.
A Spreading Trans Joy volunteer event.
A celebration organized by a group she co-founded called Peer Support Space.
I first went up to the bakery associate that was behind the counter.
What feedback did you get?
He did look a little bit confused, so I thought maybe he just didn't know what I said, so I spelt out trans.
She says a manager later gave this explanation when they refused to write the entire message.
I can't write "trans people deserve joy" on the cake because that's taking a stance on something.
Grocery chain Publix has apologized for an employee at an Orlando store refused to write the word trans on a cake. Yasmin Flasterstein and Dandelion Hill, co-founders of Orlando-based nonprofit Peer Support Space, stopped by Publix location in the Florida city's Colonialtown neighborhood to pick up a cake for the organization's Spread Trans Joy event. Flasterstein told Orlando Weekly that a bakery associate seemed confused when she asked him to write "Trans people deserve joy" on a blank sheet cake. When she returned to pick up the cake, she found Hill, who was trans, crying. The bakery's manager apologized and claimed it was against Publix corporate policy to write the phrase on a cake. According to Flasterstein, the manager told her that doing so would constitute taking a stance and that they weren't allowed to take a stance on stuff like that, end quote. The manager also claimed they could not write "Black Lives Matter" on cakes. Following Peer Support Space event, Flasterstein posted about the incident on Facebook. Her post drew outrage from the community and attracted the notice of Publix social media team. A representative for the company reached out, telling Flasterstein that the store should have agreed to write "Trans people deserve joy" on the cake. Wow. So now we're taking our personal business into corporate environments or into private institutions and telling folks, this is the kind of vitriol, as you would say, that spurs people on, especially on their jobs, to literally discriminate when you're just an employee, boo-boo.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're just an employee.
Decorate the damn cake.
I've heard a saying, give somebody a clipboard and a pen and they think they're the president of the United States. Like making up things right now, projecting your confusion onto, all I asked you to do was decorate the damn cake.
I had an argument with my wife a year ago, and so I was trying to come clean, right, and be sweet about it. So I went to Publix and I got a cake that read, "I love your Cuban ass." They wrote that with no problem.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, they probably assumed that you were importing livestock from the island.
I wanted to celebrate on a cake.
This story, though, brings me joy because Publix is doing the right thing. And to your point about the employee, the manager made it sound like it was corporate policy that they were following. So I'm kind of giving the employee a little bit of a break, but not the management or corporate. But, and there's always a big but, or an ass, as they might like
or
to say,
a Cuban ass.
is that Publix ended up doing the right thing.
Right.
They reached out, they apologized, they said they would, and do it. And good for them because the state would not have. Last week, Governor DeSantis signed a bill that lets doctors decide if they're going to treat you or not. So if the state is saying to doctors, no, you don't have to treat these people if you don't want to, then they're not going to stand up for us when it comes for minor things like this. So I'm really glad Publix came through and is at least doing the right thing when the news media is watching.
This is bringing all the Karens out right now.
Right. I will give props to Publix, but at the same time, it's a business decision. Publix knows they have a hell of a lot of LGBTQ plus customers. Mm-hmm. I think it could be. I mean, I applaud the decision, but I think it's also a business one. Money.
And the employee and manager should be fired. You're costing me money. Yeah. If I was CEO of Publix, supervisor of Publix, over operations of Publix, I'm sorry, you have to go. You're costing me money. That is literal business, and LGBTQ plus folks, we know we bring in the business and the dollars.
You know, in the rightness and the wrongness that we're talking about as it relates to marginalized communities, I always have a standard of replace the marginalized community and replace it with something else, and then find out if it's still true. Trans people deserve joy. Okay, you can't do that in Publix, according to the altercation that took place in Orlando. So remove trans and insert the word black. Black people deserve joy. Could you possibly imagine Publix doing that? You make the joke about using the word ass as my Cuban wife. So it's not even an LGBT thing. So it's replacing trans with black, and you could do it. You could say Jews deserve joy in America, and you could do that at Publix, and likely they would do that. Muslims deserve joy. Oh, well, it's definitely a marginalized American religion, so therefore they can't? No, you can't imagine Publix doing that. And ultimately, could I go in and say, I want to have a cake that says white men deserve joy? Well, of course Publix would do it. So there's the standard of why the trans justification could not stand up in Publix, except it can. Because one of the most important things for me in this story is that Publix absolutely could do that. There is no doubt about it. We watch that. Hobby Lobby can make decisions at Hobby Lobby against the LGBT and trans community. Chick-fil-A can make decisions against the LGBTQ community and against the trans community and completely do it. And there's nothing anyone can say about it. Nothing. Not only because of the kind of state that we live in Florida specifically, and really in America, but the business can make the decision to do it. Now that's really key in this story, because Publix says, no, we're not doing that. Now and I know this is going to be unpopular, but Publix has been slammed for the last decade in the LGBTQ community. And frankly, more often than not, it's not fair. The longevity of the organizational structure of the founding family of Polk County and Lakeland, Florida, were racist and homophobic and X and Y and Z, but they don't control they may have stock interest, but they do not control the day-to-day business decision making or the operations of Publix. Publix has been saddled with the founding ownership of the family and continued to be lumped into this homophobic and racist mentality. This is another, and there's many examples where Publix has gone over and above to say, we are a modern corporation in Florida. We are the only corporation in Florida that rivals who? Disney in size. Right. But we very much have many of the same philosophies as Disney. We need to give them more credit. We need to, in our community, give Publix more credit. And this is just one of many, many, many examples of them being on the path. They're not Chick-fil-A and they're not Hobby Lobby. Employees made a mistake. Corporately, they corrected it. Story's over. We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ+ evening news show from Happening Out Television Network. In the model of PBS and NPR, we educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of the LGBTQ+ community, with more than 100,000 a week watching on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the stories going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.